Welcome to my class, student. It's class 8 English. It so happened, and this is chapter 3, the selfish giant. This is session 5. We are doing question answer of the story. As you know the story, it is about a selfish giant and his selfishness. His not allowing the children to play in his garden. How winter came into his garden. It stayed there for long. Spring didn't come to his garden, and then when he found children again in that place and he knocked down the wall, he understood the importance of children in his garden, and he found a little boy, a little companion whom he helped to climb up the tree, and the little boy hugged him, kissed him. But after that particular day, the little boy was nowhere to be seen. He always asked other children, where the little boy? But nobody knew about his residence. Nobody knew about where he had come from. But one winter morning, the child was very surprised to find the same little boy underneath a tree which had golden flowers. And he ran towards the child, and what he found? He found prints of nails on his palm and little feet. He was very angry. He asked, "Who had wounded you? Tell me out, slay them." But the child said, these were the wounds of love. The giant understood the child was Jesus Christ. He was very happy. He knelt down before him, and Jesus Christ said, "Once you allowed me to play in your garden, now I will take you to my paradise." Now the story ended, and this is the question answer session. Let's see the question answer. Why is the giant called selfish? The giant is called selfish because he did not allow children to play in the garden. He built a high wall around the garden. He also put up notice board with a warning on it. What was the warning? Trespassers will be prosecuted. On one occasion, the children said, "How happy we are here." Later they said, "How happy we were there." What are they referring to in both the cases? Remember, in how happy we are here, present tense, how happy we were there, past tense, this is past and this is present. Now, in the first case, they are referring to the giant's garden where they would play while returning from school. They had a great time whenever they played in the garden. In the second case, they are again referring to the garden, talking about how happy they were before the giant stopped them from playing in his garden. In both the cases, the children are referring to the giant's garden. When spring came, it was still winter in the garden. What does winter stand for to indicate there? In the story, winter stands for a negative, desolate and lifeless environment. In this environment, trees and flowers do not blossom. Here, winter also refers to an atmosphere of depression and laziness. So, what does winter stand for? Winter stands for negativity, desolation, lifeless environment, depression and laziness. Since birds did not sing, children did not play, and spring did not visit the garden, winter prolonged its stay in the garden. Second, winter has been presented like a story with its own characters and their activities. Describe the story in your words. When spring came, the birds did not sing as there were no children. The trees too did not blossom. At a particular instant, a flower puts its head out from the grass. However, when it saw the notice board put up by the giant, it felt sad and sorry for the children, got back inside the grass and went off to the sleep. On the other hand, snow and frost were very happy. While the snow covered the grass, the frost fell on all the trees. They invited the north wind to stay with them, and later even the hail was asked to visit. The hail rattled the roof of the castle every day until some of it started breaking, and then it ran round the garden again and again as fast as it could. Now, this was the story of the winter, and in your own words you can also write, but as it is written there, you can learn the answer. Was the giant happy or sad over the state of the garden? The giant was sad over the state of his garden. He could not understand why spring was so late in coming. What effect did the linnet song have over hail and the north wind? When the linnet sang, the hail stopped dancing over his head, and the north wind stopped roaring, because linnet's song was the indication of the arrival of spring, and where there is spring, there is no winter. And hail, north wind, they were all friends of frost and snow, and they all liked winter season. So when the linnets sang, they understood the spring had knocked the garden, and now it's the springtime to come. Now, the giant saw a most wonderful sight. What did he see? The giant saw that the children had entered the garden through a small hole in the wall and were sitting on the branches of trees. There was a child on every tree. The trees had covered themselves with blossoms as they were glad to have the children back. The birds were flying about and twittering in delight, and the flowers and grasses were laughing out loud. See, this was the scene. You have gone through the story, you know. What did he realize on seeing it? He realized that spring did not come to his garden because he had prevented the children from playing in his garden. He realized that he was selfish not to allow the children to play in his garden. Here he realized the reason why spring didn't come. He realized how selfish he was. Why was it still winter in one corner of the garden? In one corner of the garden, there was a tree all covered with frost and snow. The north wind was blowing and roaring above it. A little boy was standing in front of it, but could not reach its branches. As a result, there was still winter in this part of the garden. Describe the first meeting of the little boy and the giant. The first meeting of the little boy and the giant was beneath the tree that was covered with frost and snow. The giant took him gently in his hand and put him up into the tree. The tree at once blossomed, and the birds came and sang on it. The little boy stretched out his two arms, flung them round the giant's neck, and kissed him. See, this was the first meeting. Describe the second meeting after a long interval. The second meeting took place after a long interval. On a winter morning, the giant was surprised to see that in the farthest corner of the garden, there was a tree covered with lovely white blossoms. Its branches were golden and silver fruit hung down from them. Remember in their first meeting, why was he surprised? He was surprised that at the farthest corner, a tree was covered with snow. And now again he is surprised to see a tree covered with golden branches and silver fruit. The little boy stood underneath it. The giant went towards him in great joy. As he came near the child, his face grew red with anger when he saw there were imprints of nails on his palms and feet. The giant asked the little boy who had wounded him and told him that he would slay the one who had done so. The child answered, this is answered. The child answered that those were the wounds of love. Kneeling before the little child in awe, the giant asked him who he was. The child smiled at the giant and said to him that since he had let him play once in his garden, that day he would come with him to his garden. This is him, that is God, Jesus Christ, so H will be capital and his H will be capital because his and him stands for God. Garden, which was paradise. So remember, this him will be with capital. This him you will have to write with capital H I am, and this H will be capital. The giant lay dead, all covered with white blossoms. What does this sentence indicate about one selfish giant? The sentence indicates the giant lay dead, all covered with white blossoms. He had been blessed with paradise after his death. He is no longer selfish and cruel. That's why he is covered with white blossoms. White color is a symbol of peace. Now he died peacefully. He was not selfish. He was not cruel anymore. What have we learned now? We have learned all the answers to the questions that were related to the chapter. Go through the answers, learn it, write it, practice it, and say the story to others also. In the next class, I will tell you another chapter. We will go through the another chapter. Till then, goodbye and thank you.